Imagine if you got murdered and you were only remembered as ripped or domed. Seems pretty rude, no? I would like to introduce you to the pros and cons of giving serial killers nicknames or media names. I see this being talked about a lot on crime fiction shows, so I decided to do some research on it. One of the main reasons why people argue against this is that it causes serial killers to become famous for bad reasons. It can also cause higher rates of copycat criminals. However, some argue that it makes identifying them for day-to-day life easier. It also makes their stories easy to track on the news or social media for safety in the attack area. Now that you are aware of the main points, let's start with why some people are against this. A reason why people do not want to give them cool nicknames is because it makes it easier for media storms to pick up the name and makes it easier to talk about horrific crimes, essentially making the actions more easy to talk about without realizing that it affects real-life victims. And Northeastern University states in their article, "Making celebrities of serial killers elevates threats" for USA Today. If they had given into allowing the sniper of 2002 to have the name of the tarot card killer, it would have glamorized him into the household name, much like that of the Green River Killer. John Allen Muhammad, age 41 at the time, and Lee Boyd Malvo, age 17, were sniping people all in Washington, Baltimore area. They left behind tarot cards as their calling card, or what serial killers use for media to track them with as a way to sign their work. The chief of police was quick to squash any media outlets naming them anything related to this, and only refer to them as the snipers. It was stated in the trials of Virginia by Malvo that this was only a part of their plan in the long run of later manipulating children in Canada that they planned on recruiting. This is important as it shows that such a thing was at least being planned for manipulation on young children as early as 2002, before even the Columbine shootings existed. The copying of a crime by copycat killers is by using the same signature as a known phenomenon, which only makes it easier when the media gives names and importantly details connected to those names. According to the Sage Journal, done by Ray Surratt in Measuring Copycat Crime, says that over 51 candidates showed a higher likelihood of copying crime, and did, when the crime was more heavily spread by the media in a way that suggested sensationalism. A copycat killer by the name of Derek Brown was copying the crimes of Jack the Ripper, who was a well-known killer who was never caught. While he only killed 2 people, his goal was to copy all the famous killings and bring a larger name to himself. This was found out due to his use of books in DIY Murder Bag, which included all the tools used by Jack the Ripper. This is just one of many examples of copycat killers and what can happen when stories are given in-depth details about crimes such as this. A pro, however, for serial killers having nicknames is to have their crimes remembered for infamy, which reminds people about how horrible their crimes are. As stated by April Pace in her PhD paper named Serial Killers in Popular Media, the content analysis of sensationalism and support of capital punishment in over roughly 190 articles found online that focused only on gruesome aspects of the murder, and not too many details, always leaned heavily into supporting the death penalty of such crimes. She goes over how sensationalized that the killers were, and a large part of this was due to media names. One of the major examples that is given of this is actually the Columbine shooters, as this is one of their main reasons for killing was the reaction of their peers. This article goes on to say how infamy is a big goal for many serial killers and how it can increase their death count. It continues to talk about that, and for me and other famous, for how more famous a serial killer is, the more encouraging it is for others to copy those crimes or to commit crimes of a similar nature. Infamy is an argument that they are using that is only thought of how horrible people are, which sways people to stay away from those crimes, as they were still ultimately caught. Pro 2 is that it would be easier to keyword search for something unique when there are active cases. The Benner Library states in their article, Guidelines for Serial Killer Articles, that keywords such as a serial killer's names and or media names makes finding the articles more effective. An example of this would be if I were to look up a serial killer in the state of Wisconsin, I could look up Wisconsin serial killer and get multiple results. Whereas if I were to put in, say, the Cheesehead killer, it would bring up one specific person. Active cases are easier to search with special keywords than something generic, such as area, insert here, sniper. In conclusion, the main idea of infamy is that it's not wanted, it should be avoided. Copycat killers are more likely to happen if the killer is sensationalized by media storms. Having them as household names is not necessarily always a bad thing, and nicknames can make that easier. It also can make active killers easier to track. My purpose in this speech is to provide you with both sides of the conversation, both for and against. As I stated before, I looked into this topic due to it being mentioned often on TV, and I was wondering if it was true. The sets of pros and cons I gave today are only a few reasons that one could support or deny the idea of serial killers having nicknames. I hope that this idea has helped to decide or at least know more on this controversial topic. Thank you.